right, welcome aboard, everybody. Manchild Show with Ford Green Digital at MC Show Digital. Talking New York Jets, you see the green around us. We are presented today by Northeast Roofing Professionals. Today's video brought to you by our friends at Foxdrop Syracuse. You see the link right below me there. That is our YouTube channel. If you happen to be watching somewhere else like social media or one of Paul's channels, please pop over to that channel and hit the subscribe button. Like the video as well. That'll help get it out to more and more people. All right, without further ado, let's get right to it. It's Jets-Giants week. We'll get to that in a little bit, but let's talk some Jets football. We have Jets insider Nick Faria joining us this week. Hello, Nicholas. How are you?
How's everything going, guys?
Good to be with you, pal.
Yeah, screw this guy over here. Come on, Nick. Let's toss aside the pleasantries. Okay, we got full Giants regalia here, and look, I don't know if you notice. Victory Monday shirt I'm wearing here. It's very nice. I plan on getting a lot of use out of this season, including today, because the Jets opened up a can of whoop-patookie on the Pittsburgh Steelers 17-0. And we plan on doing the same thing to you, crosstown rival New York Jets. You're with me, right, Nick? Huh?
No comment. No comment.
Come on, you're at Eagles things here. So even as your Jets beat reporter, you want the Jets to beat the Giants. You want them for a double fold. For what you do with the Jets, the guys are a little cheerier, and the Giants. That helps you. Yeah.
I have to remain impartial for this game, but my inner fandom is very clearly on the side of green. Let's just put it that way.
Well, let's start with this one then, Nick. I mean, we're talking Jets-Giants. It seems like one of our castaways, Dane Belton, apparently is starring lately for the Jets and earning himself some time on the field, Booger. It's too bad you need our scraps in order to put starting players on the field. Go ahead, Nick.
I wouldn't call him a scrap. I would say he's
a good player.
Yeah, that's probably one of the bigger mistakes I would say Harbaugh made this offseason, letting him walk, because I don't trust in the Giants safety room at this point. They've let a lot of good safeties go. Xavier McKinney being one of them, obviously having a really good run with the Green Bay Packers, and now Dane Belton. I mean, you look at the analytics of Dane Belton's game, and it fits very well with allowing Minkah Fitzpatrick to kind of be the center field and not force him into the box like a lot of teams have over the last couple of years. So, we talk about Dane Belton. I don't know if he's a scrap, and all I know personally is that this kid can play.
So, Nick, what took so long? So, Dane Belton, he's an intriguing player. Again, he signed a relatively minuscule deal, 1 year, $4 million. For him, it was very nice. But in the greater ESPN SportsCenter headlines, he did not cross it with that contract. Andre Sisco, who I love dearly as a Syracuse guy, he's not exactly this impenetrable wall that you can't get over. Like, Dane Belton just got the starting nod over Sisco in the Steelers preseason game. But what took so long? And also, we've talked about this before, like, where did Malachi Moore factor into all of this too? Because it seems like he hasn't factored in at all. I read your column, right? Old Jets on SI guy over here, Nick Faria. Here's the latest on the position battles. And I saw, Dane Belton versus Andre Sisco. And I'm like, Malachi Moore? Malachi? Where was he in the article? Was that left on the cutting room floor, Nick Faria?
Non-existent. It's just it's a chasm right now that separates Malachi Moore compared to the others right now, and I think that's part of the development. He had an up and down rookie season. But the Jets made it very clear that they wanted to address the safety room in droves. They brought back Andre Sisco. They bring in Dane Belton. They bring in Minkah Fitzpatrick. The safety room is a lot different. Now you don't have to play a second-year, youngster just because you have to, just because you want to see what he can do. He was out of position a lot of times last year, and I think you saw it a couple of times there, and Glad he mentioned he needs to play within the defense, Malachi Moore. He just needs to figure out his role and stick to his role in doing his job, not trying to be all over the place on the field. So I think it's a chasm between what he is right now as the fourth safety and the third safety. And listen, credit to Andre Sisco, man. He had been pretty much nothing for most of training camp. No big splash plays, got beat a couple times in coverage. You never saw anything that looked and said, hey, this kid's going to be able to go on the field and play week one right away. There were going to be some concerns that maybe the Jets would have to reinvest in the position group as well if they wanted to bring in a third safety. But that concern has all been killed after that game against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Comes away with an interception. I believe he was the highest graded Jet by Pro Football Focus, or at least one of the highest. So he had a very, very good game. I'm sure it's going to make this position battle a little tighter. But from the grand scheme of where we started in training camp to now, the better player has been Dane Belton, and I think that'll stick come week 1.
Nick, Geno Smith sighting in this game against Pittsburgh. So assess the first look here in the preseason at Geno.
Yeah, Aaron Glenn said it. Efficiency. He was very efficient. 7 of 7, 65 yards, a touchdown pass to Jelani Woods. All of that, great, fantastic. They converted a couple of third downs. What I really liked that I saw from Geno Smith were 2 things. One, he utilized the talent around him. There was no throwing it to Garrett Wilson every single time he came out of his break. He was allowing the defense to make their reads, and then he reacted to that. He was on the attack, but then also reactive as well, getting the ball. Mason Taylor on third down, Adonai Mitchell, a little bit of Garrett Wilson, a little bit of Jelani Woods. Spreading the ball out like this is going to help this offense tremendously throughout the regular season. Really like that about him as the first part. The second part is that he utilized his protection. I don't think this Jets offensive line had a good game against Pittsburgh Steelers. You had a couple of pressures. I don't want to see that happen with a 36-year-old quarterback, particularly in the preseason. But he stood in the pocket, he delivered timely throws, and he was accurate all throughout. We got to remember something here. The last 4 years, he has had a completion percentage higher than 64% every single year. And that includes last year with how much of a disaster his run with the Las Vegas Raiders were. He still completed 67% of his passes. So this is an accurate quarterback that needs time and talent around him to succeed. Against the Pittsburgh Steelers, you saw that in droves. And that's what should make Jets fans very excited going forward, because they have a better supporting cast that the Raiders had last year, and they have a supporting cast that can allow Geno Smith to be the kind of quarterback they expect him to be.
Nick, how much can we take away from the Frank Reich element of the offense? Because it looked like a smooth operation. That was another good part. And the naked bootlegs, constructively, the offense looked cool, but they don't scheme a lot either. So how much credence do we give Frank Reich, tip of the cap, versus that may have just been the overall staff just sort of running plays they just run?
These were basic vanilla plays, and this was more about just understanding the coverages and Geno Smith making the right decision every time. Okay. No offense in the NFL right now is showing exactly what they want to do right away week 1 or week 2 of the preseason. It's just not going to happen. So we have not seen a true Frank Reich offense yet for the New York Jets, and we will not until they take on the Tennessee Titans in week 1.
Nick, we are truly getting deep into the preseason now, only a few weeks before the regular season starts. We're heading towards our last preseason game, as we mentioned earlier, Jets against the Giants. Who are the guys in Jets camp, in your opinion, that are standing out so far?
I think we got to go each side of the ball. So the easy picks offensively, Braylon Allen, every camp it seems we're talking about him having a really good camp, and that's why I'm like, okay, great. We'll see what happens when the games actually matter. Really liked what I've seen from the offensive line, particularly along the interior. I think Josh Myers has had a very good training camp. Joe Tippmann, of course, as we know, has had a very good camp as well. All these guys have been solid. Mason Taylor's really come on as of late, being the starting tight end. Adonai Mitchell, really been a camp favorite of Geno Smith's from OTAs even to now. You turn over to the defensive side, we have to talk about David Bailey. I mean, David Bailey is just incredible. He's been awesome. Probably arguably the best defensive player the Jets have right now on the field just through training camp. He's making splash plays seemingly every single day. He gets a sack, he gets a pressure. The speed to power is really, really good. He is everything the Jets could have hoped for right now at the second overall pick. And then probably another guy that needs to be talked about, both good and bad, is A.Z. Thomas. Starting cornerback for the Jets, or competing for the starting cornerback role with Nashawn Wright. You see why Aaron Glenn likes him. He's tall, he's physical, he's someone that's just going to bump you up at the line of scrimmage, make it really hard for you to get off, but he doesn't have breakaway speed. He does not have the kind of first-round speed many people thought. I know he went in the third round, but there were a lot of pre-draft predictions that he would be a first-round pick when he came out 2 years ago. That obviously didn't happen. Part of that is because of the speed. Part of that is because sometimes he can be over-aggressive. And you're seeing that sometimes in camp where he's really good in man coverage against some receivers, but then at other times when he gets beat off the line, he doesn't have the speed to be able to recover. There was one particular practice where Adonai Mitchell just completely destroyed him. 3 straight go routes. It didn't matter. he was able to get off the ball and make a big play down the field. Those are the kind of concerns you have with a player like A.Z. Thomas, because he's kind of capped of how fast that he can be at this point. But I know the Jets really like him, and he's had a solid camp so far to try and compete for the starting job.
Speaking of Zaria Thomas real quick, so Nick, on my show every day, Boy Green Daily, sometimes it's a topic of my own observation, and hey, here's my take on the show. But sometimes I do it based off like you, Nick Faria, or somebody else. You guys wrote something that I found interesting, and I want to unpack it. So you had the Azaria Thomas article where you were talking about winners and losers and this fatal flaw of Azaria Thomas that could be a speed when you look at his 40-yard dash. And I talked about it on my show. And there was a user that was responding to the show several times named Stephanie Thomas. And I said, who is Stephanie Thomas? And she was very upset about the way that we're talking about Azaria Thomas. So I gave it a Google search. I'm like, Azaria Thomas, Stephanie Thomas. Apparently it's Azaria Thomas's mother. She was not very pleased, Mr. Nick Faria, with your criticisms of his speed deficiency and how that could translate. She gave several examples, and she tagged Azaria, and then she deleted a few tweets. Not sure if Azaria said, Mom, what are you doing over here? But yeah, she was not very pleased, Mr. Nick Faria. I'm not sure if you saw those tweets, but not very pleased with your assessment of one Azaria Thomas's 40 time.
Well, again, it's what I see at practice. It's what I see in games. So you look at one deep completion the Pittsburgh Steelers had over the middle of the field. They beat Thomas on a dig route. We don't know the coverage just yet, so it obviously is coming down to the coaching staff and what they're teaching. But I report on what I see from practice, and when I see Adonai Mitchell go down the field against A.Z. Thomas 3 separate times. 2 of them resulted in personal foul penalties, pass interference penalties, and another was a deep completion. What does that tell you?
Sorry, Mama Thomas.
It's one of those things. And again, he's probably going to be the starting corner. Nashawn Wright has not been healthy enough. Again, his physicality is what has brought him here to this point. He's a very physical corner, and that's a great fit for what Aaron Glenn wants to do. But when you're going up against these fast receivers or guys that are a little bit bigger or a little bit quicker, that's going to be a problem for him. Again, he wasn't a first-round pick for a reason. This isn't me harping on how bad of a player he is or anything else. I've been pretty complimentary of him all training camp. But I can call a spade and say, hey, he's looked as good sometimes. He's also been beat sometimes as well.
Talking with Nick Faria inside the Jets. Jets on SI reporter. You see him right there. We are presented today by Northeast Roofing Professionals. Today's video brought to you by our friends at Box Drop. Word from our sponsors, then we're back more with Nick right after this.
Considering that we sleep nearly 1/3 of our lives, buying the right mattress is essential. At Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofa Outlet, you'll get a unique experience, one that saves you 30 to 70% off retail prices on top-of-the-line mattresses like Sapphire Sleep. At Box Drop, you'll schedule a mattress fitting appointment and get one-on-one service directly with Paul, the owner. No middleman. Family-owned, huge savings, no-pressure sales designed to save you time and money. And now Box Drop Syracuse has sectional sofas and love seats as well, with prices designed to fit your budget. Box Drop Syracuse Mattress and Sofas. Set up your appointment today at boxdropsyracuse.com.
Yes, Boy Green, indeed. That was a good day of sleep for
You looked very rested.
And check out some of the mattresses and some of the box springs at our friends at Box Drop. Again, save 30 to 70% on your next mattress, 35 to 75 if you're a teacher, first responder, or military, active or retired. So,
which, by the way, Nick, aren't you a professor? Aren't you a teacher? So you get an extra 5% off on your mattresses?
Sit in there, man, Professor Faria.
We don't got to worry about any mattress issues here. My mattress is very comfy.
I try not to tout that professor thing. I'm a professor also, Nick. I try not to tout that over my colleague here, because I don't want to come across as kind of morally superior. Hey, you mentioned David Bailey earlier. This is going to be an interesting watch this season, next season, over the next couple of years, whether or not the Jets or the Giants got the right guy, or did they both get the right guy? We all know what the talk was going into the draft, okay? And now the Jets have their guy and the Giants have their guy, and the question is, will either live in the temple of regret? Give me your way too early thoughts on this whole thing, Nick. Sounds like it's going pretty well on the David Bailey side.
it's going well for both teams. I hear a lot of great things about Arvell Reese as well. Obviously see a lot of great stuff from David Bailey. It's one of those things where these two are going to be connected for the rest of their careers as long as they're both in New York, no matter what. There was a large contingent of Jets fans that thought they should take Arvell Reese because he had the higher upside as a pass rusher. There are some Jets fans that said, screw the upside. Let's go with the guy that we know is going to be really good right away, David Bailey. I think we're going to be in a situation here where these two are going to be 1 and 2 in Defensive Rookie of the Year, and it just depends on how many sacks David Bailey ends up getting. If he's close to the 10-sack mark, blows away the 10-sack total this season, he's probably going to win Rookie of the Year. If he doesn't, and Arvell Reese is able to do a lot of different things in coverage, able to rush the passer a little bit, be that kind of Swiss Army knife defender that the Giants really wanted when they took him, then that obviously changes the equation. But I don't think we're going to be in a situation here where the Jets look and say, we should have taken Arvell Reese. Or the Giants are going to be saying, man, we should have taken Sonny Styles or any of these other guys. I think both teams are very, very happy with what they've seen from their rookie.
You know what's interesting about Reese, Nick, is, the Giants obviously made that decision right away that they're going to play him on the interior, and essentially he's going to start primarily as a linebacker. Now, like you said, they may blitz him, they may run him in different things. They're going to probably try to use him as some kind of weapon. But it is fascinating to me. It kind of reminds me, it's like Reese gets to be the quarterback who kind of comes into the league slow rather than the guy that's just thrown to the wolves here. Like, by playing, I think, in the center of the defense, the pressure is not as much on him, say, in year 1 and year 2. I think inevitably he ends up out there on the edge. But right now, the Giants have a fair amount of players that can rush the quarterback well, so they don't need him to do that. I kind of like the approach here. The Jets are in a different situation, obviously, with David Bailey.
Yeah, and listen, you can move David Bailey around, and they've kind of already started to do that all along the defensive line. You want to rush him inside, you want to use him on stunts. They're going to be able to do that no matter what. He's a very physical player. He's very quick, so that first step is going to be able to help him no matter what. With Arvell Reese, you kind of look at it from the Micah Parsons perspective, where people forget Parsons did not start his career as an edge rusher. It was as an off-ball linebacker for the Dallas Cowboys. And as an off-ball linebacker, he was going to be an all-pro. He was that good off the ball. But he was so dominant, so transcendent a pass rusher that the Cowboys simply just said, we can't really afford to, play him and rush him and allow him to blitz 3 times a game. We need to do this every single down. So they moved him to edge rusher accordingly, and now the Packers move him all around. That is what I could see happen for the New York Giants and Arvell Reese, because we got to remember something else. This is a very deep group of pass rushers. We don't know what Abdul Carter is going to be like in a couple of years down the road. Had an up and down rookie season. Kayvon Thibodeau could be in his final year with the New York Giants, and obviously Brian Burns is an absolute stud. But let's say they let go of Thibodeau. Let's say Abdul Carter doesn't take that next step many expect to be in his sophomore season. Well, they could be put in a situation here where they say, screw it, we're going to throw Arvell Reese as our pass rusher anyway, and we're going to let him go to work. By drafting him where they did, it allows them to kind of play to his strengths and just sort of alleviate all the pressure here, where it's just go and play football. If we want you to rush the passer a couple of times, do it. If we want you in coverage, do it. He'll be able to do a lot of those different things.
Nick, during we're speaking to Nick Faria, Jets on SI reporter, baby, here on the program, Manchild Show, Boy Green Digital. Make sure you guys like the video and hit subscribe. Nick, the Jets had, and this is a foreign concept to most, but they intercepted the ball twice against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Now, I'm curious, is it one of which door do you believe this is? It's an oblong-shaped football, and by nature, it would be hard to get less turnovers than the Jets had last year. So, by virtue, that just seemed to bounce in their direction in the preseason game. Or is it something you've been there? Your eyes are there at camp. Is there something they're working on that finally some fruits are being sort of shown here in the game over the weekend? That wow, the techniques or whatever the hell they were doing is now translating to the game, and that's a good sign for the season? Or is it just, hey, a terrible young quarterback just threw some terrible passes that the Jets just happen to catch?
Well, I have to answer that question to start with a question of my own. What comes first, the chicken or the egg? And that's really where it starts with the Jets turnover situation. Is it because the secondary wasn't good enough last year that they weren't able to pick off passes? or was it the fact that the defensive line generated basically no pressure, were dead last in the league in sacks and pressure rates, and they weren't able to make things uncomfortable for the opposing quarterback? It really kind of fits into both kind of molds here, because if the Jets are able to pressure a quarterback, then these guys are going to test the waters down the field. They're going to get antsy. They're going to get happy feet. They're going to go away from their fundamentals, and errant throws tend to happen. Interceptions tend to happen. Turnovers tend to happen. That's all that comes with excellent defensive line play with a high pressure rate from all across the board. So that's why David Bailey was so important, because you needed a guy that could rush the passer consistently and force the quarterback into mistakes. Then you have the other side, and you say, okay, well, what do they do in the secondary to help themselves out? Nashawn Wright led all corners and interceptions last year, had terrible coverage grade, really concerned about what he can look like in man coverage, but he picked off 5-6 passes, and that can't be overlooked. You have Brandon Stevens, a guy that historically has been a solid starting corner. He's going to be the Jets' number 1 this season once again. And then you look at safety, Minkah Fitzpatrick, 3-time All-Pro. Dane Belton, a player that can play all over the field. Andre Sisco, when healthy, he's a ball hawk. He's a center field guy that really you should be allowed to get on the field and pick off passes. Didn't happen last year, but that is the projection of what he can be. So it's not so much that the Jets are saying, okay, guys, it's Monday. We got to pick off 3 passes. We got to do this. We got to do this. We got to do this. It's on the whiteboard or anything. That hasn't been the case. The Jets have not overemphasized turnovers. It's been part of their game plan, because they say the only way a team can be successful in the NFL now is to create turnovers. That's the next step in what we got to do. But there's no overemphasis. There's nothing different than what they're doing now. It's just a matter of this team is a lot better talent-wise to be able to make that happen.
Nick, I want to talk about this Jets-Giants preview, this game coming up this week. But before I do, I want to just talk to you a little bit about this 3-game preseason and kind of how it has shaped a little bit over the last couple of seasons now, where teams are making decisions about how often they're going to play starters, how long they're going to play starters, so on and so forth. It seems like the trend, particularly this year, with all of these joint practices happening, is that if the joint practices go well, we're not seeing it much, if any, of the starters in the game. So give me your sense of what you think is happening right now at the preseason. Is that trend going to continue? Give me some thoughts on that.
I think it's going to get even worse over the next couple of years, especially if the NFL goes to an 18-game season like it wants to. You know, we get to 18 games, I think we're going to have maybe 2 preseason games at most. We'll probably have the Super Bowl around President's Day weekend, and that'll be kind of where the schedule fits right now as my projection. But it kind of goes back to everything that I've heard over the last few years from teams. The first month of the year, and I know Jets fans hate me saying this because it's so different than what they as fans believe, but the first month of the year has become a glorified extension of the preseason. There is no Super Bowl contender that wins the year outright by going 4-0 in September. The Seattle Seahawks are a great example of this. They were really, really good all year, but were they the dominant Super Bowl contender through the first 4 weeks of the season? No, they didn't hit their stride yet. Philadelphia, notorious for sitting guys out all preseason, no matter what, even during joint practices. They start the season off slow, and then they try to figure out who they are. I know Jets fans are not fully accepting of that because they feel they need to start fast, but the first month of the year has become a glorified preseason. And if the NFL goes to an 18-game season, you're just going to have a re-emphasis of that. The preseason means little, even less than it did 10 years ago, because it's vanilla playbooks. It's not about the starters. You go out, you throw a starting quarterback out there for a series, you take him out. There's really no what is there to take away from Jackson Dart or Patrick Mahomes or all these starting quarterbacks around the league getting a series in the preseason if you already did that in joint practices? So there's more of a re-emphasis on joint practices, of course. Part of that is because the preseason's a lot smaller and a lot easier to deal with. But at the end of the day, I think it's just not going to matter because this first month of the year has become essentially a glorified preseason. We got to remember something else to kind of re-emphasize that. The New England Patriots last year started the season off 0-1. They lost to the Las Vegas Raiders to open the 2025 campaign. The Raiders are the worst team in football. Patriots ended up in the Super Bowl. I don't think people realize how meaningless these first 3 games usually are in the grand scheme of an NFL season. It may mean a lot to Jets fans because they cannot lose to Robert Saleh and the Titans, but that's just the crux of where we are in the NFL and across the league as well.
By the way, salute Geno Smith quarterbacking that team that took out the Patriots in Foxborough. Hopefully, he can do that a few more times this season. Now, Manchild's about to get incredibly offended by this, Nick, but I'm going to overlook this Jets-Giants game for a second, and we can rewind to it for a second. You brought up the Tennessee Titans and what to take from preseason games. What do they mean? What do they not mean? Let me throw this screenshot up here. This is from NFL insider Ari Meroff, and this is a video clip, and we're not playing the video clip. We don't have the NFL rights, but it was this from over the weekend. We had some Sunday Night Football. The Tennessee Titans starting defense has allowed 2 touchdowns on 2 possessions to the Seattle Seahawks backup offense that included a 69-yard touchdown run by, check your scorecards, Jacardia Wright. Jacardia Wright, who went undrafted. Not ideal for Robert Saleh's group, Ari Meroff says. If you're a Jets fan and you see this, Nick Faria, you're looking at this, you're like, oh, the Titans starting defense was out there against the Seattle backups and they waxed the floor of them? Are we licking our chops ahead of week 1 like, oh, Robert Saleh, come on down, like a Price is Right episode that he's coming? Should we get excited about this or it's preseason, we can't take too much from it?
I don't think you can take too much from it. However, It is an alarming start for the Titans defense. And probably even more alarming is the fact when during the game, when a sideline reporter asked Robert Saleh, what your assessment of the team, he basically went all in on the offense. And it's not the defense's fault. They gave up 2 rushing touchdowns to a guy that is just objectively really good player, obviously had a good day. Probably not going to get any playing time come week 1 and in the playoffs for the Seattle Seahawks. So it's not a good look. It's a terrible look for this team. And they haven't had a good camp either. Cam Ward has not blown the doors off of everybody. Calvin Ridley, not Calvin Ridley, the newcoming receiver has looked
Carnell
decent.
Tate.
Thank you. For some reason, I got him mixed up with Ridley. Tate hasn't looked dominant as the 4th, 5th overall pick in the 2026 NFL draft.
Actually, he's a 4th overall pick. We have this stat, actually. We could go to the Carnell Tate stats. Week 1 of the preseason, 3 targets, 0 catches. But, of course, he did better in week 2. Oh, no, 2 targets, 0 catches. Carnell Tate,
And again, things can change. They're running vanilla systems. All of that comes into the equation. But Robert Saleh's first year with the New York Jets was awful. I think we all can agree it was just an awful first year, but part of that he understood I'm developing my culture, I'm bringing in my guys, I'm trying to reemphasize the scheme of what we want to do on defense. But his wide 9 scheme is susceptible to the run. So if there's anything really to take away from this is that the wide 9 scheme is still very susceptible to the run. And probably more importantly, you should get the over on Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Isaiah Davis. Any Jets running back you have should be the main focus to try to get the over on, because this Titans team is going to be able to run the ball. You're going to be able to run the ball against this Titans defense, and I don't think it's going to be really close.
Just quickly, you mentioned Breece Hall, so let's just talk about him really quick. Obviously, he got injured. The thought is he's going to be back for week 1. What's your level of concern about Breece being there to start the season?
Minimal. With the fact that it's a groin strain, if it was a more serious injury, I think, maybe that changes things a little bit. But he's off to the side now. They're making sure he's resting. The Jets have been very proactive with a lot of these injuries so far, and that's not by accident. So I think they just have to like where they are in terms of the injuries of the team, and I fully expect Breece Hall to be there and ready to go week 1.
And last one, Lurch, come on, let's get our Jets-Giants barbs in here with one another. What is there to look forward to? This used to be the dress rehearsal for the season, Nick Faria, to mention, to your point, when it's 4 preseason games, Jets and Giants was always preseason week 3, which was when the majority of the starters played. Now in this new world, well, this is it. This is the preseason finale, so who knows, AG, always cagey with whether or not the starters are going to play. But what is there to take out for this preseason finale, if anything, before the season?
Want to see some more consistency from the offensive line. The late round picks you want to see development in. I don't know if we're going to see Cade Klubnik because as of right now, he's the QB2, and I would be surprised if that changes at all. But Inez Cooper, you want to see him play well. You want to see VJ Payne play well. And then also the second-year guys. We're not going to see A.Z. Thomas, but we should, and I emphasize should, see a lot of Malachi Moore. We should see a lot of Arian Smith. We should see a lot of these guys that were day 3 picks, but higher day 3 picks, 4th-round picks that you expect to have some impact on the roster, whether it be this year or next year. But we're at the point now where we're kind of waiting to see what these guys are going to do. I don't think Arian Smith's roster spot is guaranteed. I don't think, a lot of these guys, these late-round picks, any of their spots are guaranteed at this point, especially after a bad rookie season and transitioning to kind of a quiet training camp. So it's a wait-and-see game, but a lot of these second-year guys are going to need to put up or shut up because this is a big, big moment for them all.
But that laundry is still green and blue. Therefore, there must be a winner. It better be my side. All right, we'll see how it all plays out. Nick Faria, before we let you go, quick plug. What have you been up to? Tell people what's going on.
Yeah, we're going to have the rookie report coming out either later today or early tomorrow. We're going to be breaking down some of the practices over the next couple of days as well, and then more projections for the 53-man roster. I think if you polled most Jet fans, they have a pretty good understanding of where this team is going to go for their final roster decisions. I think we're only arguing about the final 3, maybe 4 guys who ends up being on the practice squad, like those kind of things. But this roster seems to be pretty much straightforward throughout the last couple weeks of camp.
And Nick, are you in the? I've heard Rich Cimini tell me about this on my show before, that all the beat reporters come together before the very first.
I'm in it.
Okay,
Listen,
so give it to us. For the people that don't know what this is, give it to us what it is, and apparently maybe some trash talking you're about to do with it.
No trash talking. I was an idiot last year because I was so good with my predictions. I was tied for first place. But then I forgot that the tiebreaker was the practice squad predictions. And I didn't fill out the practice squad predictions. So I came in second place without realizing, oh, shit, I forgot to put this part in. So lost to the tiebreaker through my own stupidity. Not something I'm proud of, but that's what it is, right? That's where we are right now.
Who won, Nick? Who won last year?
I think it was Antoine. I might be
Antoine
wrong.
Staley,
I can't remember.
News. Okay. That's right.
But yes, we all do it. It's a great time.
Cool.
And I'm really interested because I think most of us are all going to have the same players. It's just a matter
it's going to be the margins.
And I think like the separation between the first guy, the top leaderboard, and like 5th, like last place was like 2 players. It was. We all kind of understood where this team was going to go. It seemed pretty straightforward. This year is kind of the same thing. I mean, we're arguing: are they going to keep Xavier Newman? Will they keep a 5th edge rusher? Who's going to be that extra interior guy? Are they going to keep 5 linebackers? Are they going to keep 5 safeties? What happens to VJ Payne? So those kind of predictions, no one really knows at this point.
Right.
But it is what it is.
Nick, always appreciate the love and the knowledge, and most importantly, Nick, the objectivity. Respect, man. Much respect. Thank you, brother.
Appreciate it. Thanks, guys.